Here are some of the freshest leaks of Intel's upcoming 13th gen Raprot Lake processors. This is lining up to be a gigantic generational improvement, as there seems to be about a 10% uplift in single core performance. But more importantly, Intel is adding a lot of cores across the entire lineup. I mean, the top i5 CPU will come with a total of 14 cores, and the top i9 model will come with a total of 24 cores. And according to early leaked benchmarks, the i9-13900K will be over 50% faster in multi-core performance than its predecessor, the i9-12900K. Now, a lot of these cores are Intel's high-efficiency cores, but don't forget they basically perform as well as the cores from old Skylake CPUs from just a few years ago. So if you couldn't tell, I am actually extremely excited for the 13th generation to drop from Intel. I actually have not been this excited for a new CPU generation in a really long time. So we have received some more leaks this time around for the i9-13900. And so obviously these CPUs will still be very power hungry, you know, like peaking at like over 200 watts and such. So you are gonna need some pretty beefy cooling, but I mean, the performance is really insane, and the fact that they're adding so more cores is just so great as well, because for the longest time everything was just based around single core performance, right? You would need to get a new CPU so that, for instance, your new game could run at higher frame rates, because it would just sort of, the games were just made to sort of use the first core and maybe the second one, maybe up to 4 cores, stuff like that. And now we're really pushing this forward, so you know, all the programs are gonna start using more cores, and they're just going to use them more effectively, you know. So you could just buy a very powerful top model processor and just, you know, get that premium performance for a lot for many more years to come, you know, because you could have bought a high core count CPU in the past, but everything was so single threaded that when the next generation came around, your CPU was not as good. So now that's changing a little bit. It's a little bit tough to explain, but I'm very excited for that. Anyways, the benchmarks is super insane. So the current 12900K, the top consumer chip from Intel, has a score of 17,000 just about, and then the new one apparently, and this is in Geekbench of course, has 26,000. So this is actually over a 50% increase in performance, which, you know, is not that hard to believe, because the thing is, Intel has added 8 more cores, so it went from a 16 core to a 24 core processor. Plus, they have also made the performance cores better. I think the efficiency cores are the same, but I don't know that for a fact. So the current 5950X from AMD, this thing has been around for a while at this point, and I mean, it's just getting absolutely destroyed. And I'm going to be very interested to see how pricing is going to play out this generation, because the thing is, AMD's Ryzen 5 CPU is going to have 6 cores, whereas the top processor from Intel is going to have, the top i5 processor is going to have 14 cores, which is crazy. So the 13600K, 6 cores and 8 high efficiency cores. And even if we go lower to the lower SKUs, even like the 13400, this is like the lowest the i5s will go, will still have 6 cores and 4 efficient. It will be a 10 core processor. I mean, this is insane. And I think AMD's cores might be slightly faster, but Intel is just gonna have so many more cores. It's just absolutely insane. So it's gonna be a very interesting generation for sure. And I believe this 13th gen will also support DDR4 and DDR5, which is just so fantastic, because DDR4 is just really cheap at the moment. Like, you can get 64 gigs for like $200, whereas DDR5 it's not exactly double the price anymore, but it's like quite a lot more expensive. Not worth it in my opinion. So very, very cool stuff. I'm very excited. I think Intel has done very well with this generation, and then the next generation is once again Intel is doing so great now ever since they switched out their CEOs and they actually started competing again. So man, this is just so nice to see. Like my freaking Ryzen 9 5900X is just gonna be slow. Like that's crazy. So yeah, very hyped, very cool.